I Brakatah Yahweh, Brakatah Yahweh Shai, Brakatah Yahweh, Brakatah Yahweh Shai, call Allah Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. That's all praises into the Most High and His Son, who you ignorantly call Jesus Christ. I'd like to give double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Those in this gospel abroad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. It's Akia Mahalalia coming back with another quick lesson through the Spirit. Just showing you the events of the world, how this world has descended into utter chaos behind these presidential elections, these COVID shutdowns, these particular abortion bans, civil rights, etc. All right, so this is RT News here. All right, which they have a plethora of information, good information, prophetic information, and a lot of it is really gearing around this particular pandemic, and also this what you call election. Like here it says 50,000 strong in anti-Macron rally in Bangladesh marches toward French embassy. Macron ethnically burned. Okay, that's a form of a protest, a uproar, or a sedition among men. All right, it says Greece imposes 2-week lockdown in northern regions as flights are suspended. It says the 5 ways Trump will claim he's ultimate the winner even if he's losing. COVID curfew to be rolled out across all of Italy. PM Conte reveals among more new restrictions. So these are leading to mass protests, mass riots, mass civil unrest, which they're already expecting these particular cities, definitely Washington, D.C., to be a primary target for civil unrest. And through the Spirit, this is where Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai stated what was going to happen in the end time. All right, because these riots, they're not going to do shit but intensify. Sooner or later, these riots are going to become uncontrolled, and they're going to start spilling over to your suburbs, to your regional towns, to your county streets. And it's going to be one big hellbent, one big bonfire that's ignited across Babylon. Okay, it says here, as U.S. election looms, Russians have ceased to hope that anything good will come out of America, regardless who is president. And that's a true fact, because whether Biden or Trump is selected as the president of the United States, at the end of the day, the outcome is still going to end with the utter destruction of Babylon the Great. All right, it says England will return to a tiered system at the 4-week COVID lockdown. And that's another thing. The people of the UK, they know that that ban is not going, or those restrictions are not going to be lifted up, because they studied the trend here in America. Like I remember back in March, the first lockdown came. It was 2 weeks. Then 2 weeks after that, then another 2 weeks. And they didn't really start lifting restrictions until like mid-June, So right there tells you that, hey, they're not going to open up these places for real, because when they open up these places, they're still going to do social distancing. Like, you got particular amusement parks. You got parks like Six Flags Great America. You got Cedar Point. You got Worlds of Fun. You got all these different, what you call amusement parks, that a lot of them didn't make it to the end of the year because they couldn't generate the revenue. Like, it's a place out in Kansas City called Worlds of Fun. Now, with that being said, they opened up this summer, but they had a social distancing measure. Like 2 people couldn't sit next to each other on the ride, so you had to be every other car. And that hurt their business dramatically. So they was forced to close, I want to say, about a month or 2 ago. So they didn't even make it into their particular fall season, which, their Halloween season, their Christmas season. They generate a lot of revenue around those times because of the attractions. But yet they had to close down for the rest of the year. And those particular effects are going to trickle down to all these businesses. You just ain't really seeing it in certain places yet. But eventually, once New York, Chicago, and LA, when those particular cities completely go under, then you're going to see the devastation of these other cities like Kansas City, St. Louis, Washington, D.C., Seattle, San Francisco, Baton Rouge. You're going to start to see the decline of jobs in these particular cities. All right, because it appears to be business as normal, but eventually these places will be shut down. All right, so this is the latest, but let's go on the road news and see what we got here. Because this is all Bible prophecy, man. And Yahweh Shai said that we can expect these. All right, so let's see here. We got, it shouldn't be a lonely Christmas. Merkel will beat about December. We read this already. 50,000 strong anti-Macron rally. All right. Portugal set to announce state of emergency over coronavirus crisis. And this came out an hour ago. We read this. Greece imposes 2-week lockdown. This came out an hour ago. COVID curfew. We read that. Let's find some more stuff. And I'm just showing you, brothers, of the uprights and the riots and so forth. It says fierce gun battle filmed in France. Montpellier as two rival gangs clash in broad daylight. It says more fire at Istanbul hospital sends plume of black smoke into the sky. All these signs, man, and you got guys out here that can't see it. You got guys out here that's still not going into the prophecies, but they're telling you it's okay that we keep the law, but yet you're not teaching the prophecy. You're teaching people to get married and all this other stuff. Another one, Portugal, Austria, and England announced lockdown as Europe increasingly toughened COVID-19 restrictions amid fierce protests. All right, and these people, man, they ain't like you Americans, even though they come in the same stead. They're not as docile as you Americans over here. All right. So anyway, it says here, Portugal and Austria and England announced lockdowns as Europe increasingly toughens COVID-19 restrictions amid fierce protests. It says fierce, okay? Look up the definition of fierce. It means extreme. It says, but Portugal has become the latest European state to announce new coronavirus restrictions as Austria and England also prepare for a lockdown amid backlash in other states forced into quarantine by the second wave of COVID-19. All right, so here in America, they're expecting a second wave, and the second wave, I believe, is not going to get it. It's going to be a lot worse. Tighter restrictions, more policing, vaccinations, those things is going to be tighter, even more strenuous. But it says here, in Portugal, people were ordered to stay at home except for work. See, they still want you to be slave. They want you to stay at home, but yeah, you can still come to work and be possibly exposed to the said danger and continue to be a slave. All right, to show you how this man is, there's always some type of tyranny behind the way he do things. It says, except for work, school, or essential shopping, while companies will switch to remote working whenever possible. It says the new lockdown measures are set to take effect on November the 4th, which is in 2 days, and will immediately impact nearly 70% of the population in 121 municipalities. So this is going to have a big effect on people's jobs because, with that being said, this is the global reset. Noticing it's just not in America. This is everywhere. This is the whole planet that's being forced into this particular situation. And it says Prime Minister Antonio Costa, it says, however, warned that even more areas could be added to the list if the rate of coronavirus infections continue to soar. And this is going to bring about more protests, and the more closing of business, because people, they're not going for this shit no more. They're not taking it very lightly, because people, they want their lives back, and they know that the government is full of shit anyway, So anyway, let's get a precept or two. So this is the book of Isaiah 24, starting at verse 1. It says, behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turn it upside down, and scattered abroad the habitations thereof. It's going into the destruction. In these particular times we're living in. It says, and scattered abroad the inhabitants. People, like, I believe, what fucking city was that? That people was leaving the city in droves because they was getting ready to shut down. I was just looking at it last week, but I can't recall where it was at. I want to say it was, I can't recall, but they said mass people were leaving the cities due to the lockdowns. People didn't want to be put on lockdown. All right, they were scattering. That's why it says, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. It says, and it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, and as the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. The land should be utterly empty and utterly spoiled. For the Lord have spoken this word, okay? So, in game, this place is going to be totally destroyed with nuclear missiles. But first, you're going to have riots. You're going to have all types of chaos. You're going to have protests. You're going to have troops. You're going to have camps. You're going to have looters. You're going to have all types of shit. You're going to have demons, ghosts, whatever you want to call it, that's going to inhabit this land. America's going to be fully thrown into straight chaos, straight judgment all around. So you're going to see why we're going to need Michael the Archangel to lift up the standard for us. All right, through the Spirit of the Lord. And it says, and the earth mourneth and fadeth away, and the world language and fadeth away, and the haughty people of the earth do language. Haughty goes into extremely proud. So these people that think they have job security, they're going to find out the hard way. So it says here, reading on, it says, we have a very tough month ahead of us. It is more likely we will add more municipalities than we drop from the list next time, because they're controlling it. But what Portugal has recorded a relatively low 2,507 deaths so far, The daily number of new infections soared over 4,000 in the recent days. Okay. It says with a total of 1,972 people hospitalized, the country slowly running out of intensive care units, which, we beg to differ on that. But it says here, if nothing else is done, the rise in infections will inevitably lead us to a situation of failure of our health system. And this is what the means they're going to use to bring in a chip. It says Costa Addy echoing the reasoning behind a lockdown in England that was announced by the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson just 2 hours earlier. It says here in England from November 5th to at least December 2nd, it says people will only be allowed to go to outside for specific reasons. So this is the lockdown. It says including education, work, exercise, shopping for essentials, and caring for the vulnerable, which is pretty much around the same lines that we did over here. Like back in March, gyms wasn't open. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't do nothing but go to work. You go to a park and, essential goods. But people really was defying that. People wasn't listening to it. People was still kind of doing their own thing. So they shut things down. They started shutting down bars. They shutting down clubs. Only 6 people allowed at a time. And a place cannot have a general amount of revenue or sustainable revenue of income when you only have 8 people that's keeping the doors open. It's not going to work. But it says here, pubs and restaurants will be shut down and only allowed to sell a takeaway. But all non-essential trades will also stop. But however, essential schools, shops, universities will remain open. But in Austria, it says a mass lockdown kicks off on November 3rd, which is election day tomorrow, with a curfew in place before from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. every night into December. And we had a curfew out here too. I believe it was like 11 to 7, 11 to like 5 or something. But people wasn't listening to that shit, man. People still did what the hell they wanted to do. Unless you was essential, you couldn't be out. But the cops wasn't really bothering nobody out here anyway, because a lot of the cops know that this is just it just means to a bad end. But anyway, it says here all restaurants, bars, and cafes will be closed except for the delivery and takeaway services. But theaters, museums, and gyms, as well as kindergartens and primary schools, will also close, while high schools and universities will switch to distance learning. But even though Austria's healthcare system is considered one of the best in the world, the number of patients currently requiring hospital treatment is only 1,867. And Kurz warned that if we don't act now, our intensive care capacity will be overwhelmed. All right, which sure it will. Say what you want to say, but we know the truth. So anyway, back into the scriptures here. It says the earth is also defiled under the inhabitants thereof. Talking about these people, because these people, they're getting ready to lose their damn minds. They don't have the spirit of the Lord on them, so their safety blanket or their place of refuge was Babylon, was their jobs, was their homes, their material possessions. That was their place of refuge, not the spirit of the Lord. But it says because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenants, therefore have the curse have devoured the earth. And the curse is in the form of these chariots, these judgments, these plagues. It says, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burnt, and few men left, going into the destruction, the nuclear missiles, and the chariots. But it says, the new wine mourneth, the vine language, and all the merry-hearted do sigh. And the merry-hearted were the people that you see in the world, clubbing every week, working the most prolific corporate jobs, working the city jobs. These people that live high up the hall, these are the men, the haughty ones. These are the ones that's going to be brought down. Your Fortune 500 business owners, your millionaires, so to speak. Billionaires are being affected by it, but billionaires are becoming trillionaires, while trillionaires are becoming gazillionaires, even if that is a real statement or a real term, so to speak. Your millionaires, please, if you ain't in the upper millions, then you assed out. You $100,000 Edomites, you out of there. You gone. Your place of business is destroyed. Now you're just a common Negro. But it says here, merry heart do sigh. That's why, this woman Margaret was talking about, Christmas time shouldn't be lonely. You might not get Christmas. And I hear that all the Black Friday shopping is going to be doing online now, because social distancing, going into these stores, and they're going to allow people to come into the stores like that, unless they do it by system, And it says, and the mirth of the tabret ceased, and the noise of them that rejoiceth in it, and the joy of the harp ceased. Okay, so all the mirth of this place is being brought down. Sooner or later, everything going to close down. And they should not drink wine with the song, but strong drink should be bitter unto them that drink it. And the city of fusion is broken down, and every house is shut up that no man may come in. So there is a crying for wine in the streets, and all the joy is darkened, and the mirth of the land is gone. And then the city is left to desolation, and the gate is smitten with the destruction. And when thus it shall be in the midst of the land among the people, there shall be as the shaking of an olive tree, and as the gleaning of grapes when the vintage is done. Alright, so hey, this is a process that Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is going to bring forth. And we're seeing the effects of it. And honestly, I can't wait for it to get worse. Because you know what, man? The Lord is getting ready to unleash us. We're getting ready to do a mighty work out here. You know, but it says, but thousands of people have been marching in the streets of European cities, arguing that the restrictions are excessive, while the economic toll on the business is unbearable. Anti-lockdown protesters clashed with police in Naples and other cities in Italy earlier this week after authorities imposed nighttime curfews among new stricter measures against COVID-19. But clashes later took place in Spain, including Madrid and Barcelona, where protesters tried to erect barricades before being dispersed by police. Meanwhile, peaceful rallies against lockdowns were staged in London and Vienna on Saturday. So this shit is happening in Europe, man. That's how you know that this is coming. This is a world thing. That's why the scriptures say here, 2nd Esdras 16:1, it says, woe be unto thee Babylon and Asia, woe be to thee Egypt and Syria. Gird up yourselves with cloths of sack and hair, and bewail your children and be sorry, for your destruction is at hand. Alright? So that's the world thing. 2nd Esdras 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Alright, this is a worldly endeavor. You know. So hey man, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai ain't playing games no more. He's getting ready to unleash unrepentant bona fide judgments out here. Alright, 2nd Esdras 9:1, and when he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest the part of the signs past which I've told thee before, then thou shalt understand that this is the very same time when the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So therefore, when there should be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, and this is why we're doing the shows, to show you the different rise and protests around the planet. It says, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of these things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So hey, we there, brothers. Stay patient, stay diligent, keep praying and fasting, whatever we need to do, and hasten the day. And with that, shalom and the Bible ball.